altitude. Please put your body, mind, and soul in the upright position. We hope you enjoy the ride.
Welcome to WAYSPACE. This is it. Here we are. Let's be here now. So I got to apologize. I'm getting this podcast out a few days later than usual this week. Thank you for your patience if you are a listener that listens and looks out for this first thing on Mondays. I usually record it Mondays and then put it out on Monday. There's something about that I think I've talked about before about like just releasing it right after I record it. That feels really good and feels very current, so that what you're hearing is really how I'm currently doing and not like a lag on some days. And I really like that. So that's what I'm doing today, though. You're going to be hearing this. If you listen to this right when it comes out, you'll be hearing this hours, less than 24 hours after I record it. And yeah, so I hope you're doing well. I mean, part of why I didn't release it on Monday is because I guess I've had a rough week, or I've had a week of procrastinating some things, I guess, or it's just how it goes sometimes. But I haven't thought any less about my spiritual practice. So here's to continuing that whole journey and all that. This week, the episode I'm calling the Wake Up Game. And well, it's because I want to talk about the Wake Up Game, and I want to talk about sort of something that I noticed within my pages over the last week, which is sort of this synthesis of practices that is happening. And I was thinking about kind of talking about what it is to synthesize practice, but maybe we can talk about that within a broader context of like this game, the Wake Up Game. You know what I'm talking about. Enlightenment, awakening, achieving all your dreams, making your vision a reality, manifestation, aligning your chakras, all that good stuff. The game, the thing. It's not the game for all of us, though it kind of is the game for all of us. I think that how can I put it? Actually, this is how I've been thinking about it. So we have like this game, right, where it's like you go. What are some examples of this? It's like in Ready Player One, if you've ever seen that movie. He plays like a game at the end or whatever, and like the point isn't to just finish the game. The point is to find this other thing within the game, that you have to know some things in order to unlock the understanding that you're looking for something else and not just trying to get to the end. That's kind of the deal here. That's what it feels like to me, is like the game, what it appears to be is you come into this world, you're born from a human, you become a human, which is a name that humans have given themselves. So, it's a little bit conceptual even from the start. And you kind of just go through life. You go to school, you go meet people, you make friends, you find new loves, you maybe get married or have a partner or don't, and you get a job and you have children or raise children or be part of a community or impact the world in some way. And then you kind of continue that sort of the motion of that. Once you get to that point, you kind of have the momentum to just kind of keep going with your life, and you kind of just go from one activity to another. And then your body, runs out of steam and it dies. And then you go on to, I guess some people think you're nothing, and you're not even nothing. You're like nothing of nothing because you're conceptually not even there. you might go on to the next life. You go inhabit a new body. And so I guess you have a soul or awareness or something. And yeah, you sort of just keep going on like that forever and ever, whether you're nothing forever and ever or you're something forever and ever. And that kind of thing just happens. And I mean, the game, as far as that first conceptualization of the game, doesn't even really incorporate what happens after you die or anything like that. It's just, here's the beginning, you're born, here's the end, you die, you do some stuff along the way, cool. And I mean, for a lot of us, part of this game is asking, what is the meaning to life? Why am I here? What's my purpose? That kind of stuff. The question is the game to kind of try to figure that out? Or is the game to realize that you already knew the point? You already knew the meaning. You already knew your purpose for being here. And now you have a way of playing the game to, how do I say it? Like, to like beat the game, but you don't beat the game by finishing it like as if it's like a race or something. That you beat the game by shifting the paradigm with which you understand the game. That kind of is how I think of like this wake-up game, the enlightenment game, the game where there's a treasure that is available at any point along the way, along this race. And it's not about finishing the race. I mean, certainly we'll finish the race, most likely. But there's something more to it. And on the surface level, like I was saying, it's about what's my purpose. Like, the point isn't just to live and die, like be in the body, vibrate your spinal cord for 70, 80, 90, 100 years or more, and then just stop, and then you disintegrate or whatever. That there's sort of a question of what's the point? What's my purpose for being here? And that's both the subject of sort of people's sort of interests, minds, confusions, doubts, worries, fears, whether they are spiritual people or not. I think it's a spiritual question, but I don't think a person necessarily identifies as spiritual when they ask that question. I think all different kinds of people ask that question with all different types of identifications. But the whole spiritual thing, spiritual game, spiritual path, practice, whatever, religious, mystical, whatever, for the most part is trying to help us play this wake-up game. Like, it's like there's a metagame, That's basically the idea. I mean, we're in this whole understanding of like meta shit now. So like that's kind of where I've been focusing my attention for the last while is yes. I see. I go from this step to this step to this step. Yes. Sometimes that completely takes over my attention and it's exhausting. And I end up not recording my podcast and I'm worried about how I'm going to get to the next stage of my adulthood and all that kind of stuff. But there's a metagame, right? There's a metagame of unwinding from the karma, of letting go of the things that we're still holding on to. You know what I'm talking about? I know what I'm talking about. And it's a delicate game because it's not one that we see and touch and feel. Touch, feel, sight is involved. Hearing is involved. But it's not all that is needed in order to have access to this part of the game. It's a part of the game that we can turn off if we don't feel like looking at it. Sort of like turning off the lights, I guess. It's like, you can turn off the lights so you don't see anything in the room, but it doesn't mean there isn't still stuff in the room. And that's kind of the idea. And you may believe like, no, I see nothing. I don't see anything. There's nothing here. There's really nothing here. It's darkness. But it's like, well, dude, if you just, turn the light switch on, then you'll see what's here. And I think that process of turning the light switch on is it's both just a matter of doing it, but it's also a matter of believing that it can be done. And I think rather than it being a situation of learning how to do it, it's more a situation of learning how to believe that you can do it, of learning how to believe that you can transcend many of the sort of dramas of everyday life, and even not even just everyday life, but just human existence, in the way that we conceptualize it now. I know that's the case for me. And that's what I've kind of been thinking about, sort of, how do I learn to do something that I already know how to do? You know? Like, how do I learn? Yeah. How do I learn how to do something that I don't actually have to learn how to do? So how do I let go of all the ways that I think I need to learn it and just fucking do it? And this is kind of applies to everything, but it certainly applies to the creative power of the mind and sort of the ability to make anything basically come into this reality, to select the reality I want for myself and for all of us to do that. That is an interesting game, because it is learning how to do something I already know how to do. And it's not like I already know how to do it like me, Jack, but like I'm literally already doing it. I'm already creating the reality that I experience. I'm already perceiving the world through my mind and through my conceptions of it. And so how can I basically reacquaint myself with that flipping of the light switch so that I can do it at will, consciously, at my command, you know? So that's my wake up game right now. And I think it's challenging because it's learning how to get over ourselves and learning how to let go of what we think we are so that we can become whatever we want in every way that we've got. Yeah. So what am I doing now? I'm synthesizing my practices, I think. I think a big part of this whole wake-up game thing here is that it's different for every single one of us, because every single one of us has a different sort of set of karmic circumstances, predicaments, attachments, you know, that clingy stuff that keeps us, holds us back. That's us holding ourselves back. And I think it takes a certain exploration of practices that requires a lot of patience over long enough periods of time that you can experience a particular practice, like, for example, meditation, across many different moods, states, and ways of being. Because I think it's important to have the experience of a practice transcending any given state. So like whether I'm happy, sad, feeling poor, feeling rich, feeling depressed, feeling in love, feeling responsible, feeling irresponsible, feeling trustworthy, feeling like a shit friend, feeling like a good friend, answering all my friends, ignoring all my friends' calls, you know, from all of those particular points of view, ways of perceiving the world and, well, let's be real, myself, meditation is there as a practice. And it just stays there. It's just continuing. It's just part of the game. And this is like playing the metagame. Meditation is part of playing this metagame. And that over time, I then begin to see how it works for me and maybe how it doesn't, or at least the opportunities to refine the practice for myself. So, you know, right now, a big part of my meditation practice is doing what's called the fourfold breath. So it's in 4, you hold 4, out 4, you hold 4, in 4, hold 4, out 4, hold 4. And that has been helpful because I don't lose count very easily. At times when I just do 1 in, 2 out, 3 in, 4 out, up to 10, and then do it over again, it kind of like over time I started to long for a different way of practicing meditation. I've also been trying some things out, visualizing, and I think some of it just doesn't work and some of it does, in different ways. And I think that's a question of, like I said, over time you try things, and as things don't work, and as they don't transcend states, and they're only available to me maybe within particular states, I see that those are not as durable and as robust as others. And so I think that's part of this game is synthesizing the practices that work for me, that work for us, into a practice that is unique to us. So, my way of journaling, for example, is very unique to my set of circumstances in my life, my practices, and my sort of karmic predicament as a spiritual being, a soul, an awareness, whatever you want to call it. And I think it will look different, like I said, from everybody else, and the way that everybody else does it. That being said, though, it's also has plenty of similarities to how others do it because it's inspired by what others do, but it's through my own conception of others and conception of myself. So from the get-go, spiritual practice is a unique pursuit. We all do it in various forms and fashions, whether it's just asking the question of what do I want to do with my life, or it's the question of which technique should I do today so that I can get enough money to afford to buy a home, or what can I do that aligns me more with God in my life? Any of those questions and all in between and outside of those bounds are sort of fair game for us all being spiritual beings. And so within this game, I feel like I am going up and down a lot, some people talk about like, it's like coming out above the surface of the water and you get fresh air and it's like, holy shit, what the fuck is this? Because you're so used to swimming underwater and having sort of that as your environment. It's the fish out of water metaphor. And I think it's, once you can get used to it, being above the surface is amazing, but then you go back under because you're so used to it and you kind of just find yourself there. And so what mechanisms can we use to bring us back above the water? And like I've been saying, and this is a go-to for me, particularly, I guess, because it's kind of mainstream and a lot of people kind of get it, even if they don't get it in the way that maybe I'm talking about it and don't see it the way I am. They at least kind of have some type of experience with it. But meditation is one of those things. And it might be one of those things where we don't do it consciously, like coming above the water consciously. We might just do meditation and it brings us to a place where all of a sudden we're out of the water or closer to above the surface or something like that. But then those of us, I guess, that you could say are on the spiritual path, we're actively trying to come above the water. And we're craving that, That's part of our desire scheme. Some of us don't have, enlightenment or awakening as part of our sort of desire structure in this lifetime. It doesn't mean we don't get enlightened or awakened or, whatever that entails. But there is something to be said for when, like for me, I know me personally, I can't deny it. It's part of my craving desire structure is I want so badly to perceive this reality from above. I want to be able to perceive this reality and the infinite realities and dimensions from, like a fourth dimensional way of seeing things. And so for me, my spiritual practice, even if at times it's about lots of other things, is also about cultivating what a lot of people talk about as spiritual sustenance, which is being able to detach at will so that I have sort of how should I put this? The capacity within me to really just like be the love that the world may need at any given moment, aka I may need at any given moment. That I'm looking for, I think, like a forever safety, like a way to be safe forever, to be kind of comfortable forever. And I think I certainly have gotten over, or at least am getting over, the fact that I can't just detach from everything and just flee and escape and retreat from everything. But it doesn't mean that I don't have access, or that any of us don't have access to a way of experiencing our reality such that we, are playing the metagame. And we realize that actually, in order to play the metagame, there isn't as much of the regular game needed as we might think. Certain things, of course, like our bodies, I mean, I certainly experience it this way, that my body is the temple. If things are going on with me physiologically, things are going on with me spiritually. And actually, maybe it's the, if things are going on with me spiritually, then I'm going to see stuff going on with me physiologically. Like, for example, earlier today, I was feeling so anxious, like jittery, and just like I didn't know what to do with myself. And I went on a long walk, and that was helpful. But then I kind of had a resurgence of the anxiety, and it was just like, holy shit, this is a lot. And I was feeling, it's like that thing that I think I've said before that other people say, where it characterizes the ego, which is like when your eyebrows are scrunched and your face is kind of scrunched in, and it's like, oh, and I was just feeling so just wound up and just really, really anxious about a lot of things. And that being said, I kind of recognized, okay. I have a lot of thoughts going through my head. I'm feeling very anxious. But I understand that there's a physiological explanation for this. I've drank a lot more coffee than I usually do this morning. And that being said, while in that moment I can be like, okay, so there's something physiological and it's coming into my experience as something spiritual, I can actually see that before the physiological cause, you might say, there was something spiritual there, which is I had this moment where I had finished a cup of coffee and I felt awake and I felt good and I was fine. And then I was like, I'm going to have some more. And what was the purpose of that? Was it that, for example, I've got a lot of ideas right now about NFTs and about my first NFT collection and all these creative things I want to do. And I'm feeling anxious to get started, and I'm worried about losing steam. And so I want to kind of redose on the caffeine to get me going. You know what I mean? Like I can break that shit down. And those are spiritual things. That's me holding tightly onto this moment of inspiration that I have, because, lately my inspiration has kind of been a little bit finicky. I think even really since the beginning of the pandemic, it's been a little finicky. I've had moments where I really went full-fledged, like pursuit. But then I'd have these dips, and the dips have been tough, and I've been dealing with dips lately. And, I think a decision like that is a spiritual decision. It's something that has spiritual motivation, that is me wanting to be able to stay in this particular state, and not have it disappear. I don't want to lose this amazing opportunity to create and find some creative fulfillment, because that's why I'm here. That's the question of my purpose, is that, that's the purpose that I already know I have, that I'm searching for in objectified means. What am I supposed to do? But all I'm supposed to do is create and be here, and play, be part of the band, as I've talked about in past episodes. So that being said, I think we can point to situations, states that we have, and think about them as coming from physiological causes, which it's not that they don't, but that's not the whole story. It's never the whole story. You never get to see the whole story from the human perspective. We can sort of sense it spiritually, maybe. I mean, I won't even necessarily say that because I'm still working on that, but I do think that the ability to recognize spiritual causes for physiological phenomena, both, either, is valuable because it is a way of having some flexibility with our psychology and our consciousness and our awareness. Yeah. So that's kind of been where I'm at. And in thinking about what I'm going to keep in mind going forward, and maybe what we all can keep in mind going forward, is to find ways as we synthesize our practices to do things that we needed for ourselves. You know, kind of being our own hero, that kind of thing. You know, I really think there's a lot of value in doing what a lot of people call shadow work, which is just like being there for yourself, basically. But being there, like in my case, for past versions of myself, and kind of like meeting myself in scenes that were upsetting or difficult, or even just signify a particular moment or era of suffering in my life, and being there for myself and crying with myself and allowing my emotions to come out. I can't really say how to do it. It's the kind of thing where like you might hear this, or I might hear somebody talking like this, and I'm like, okay, well, that would be great. And then, you know, you find yourself one day meditating or writing or making music or drawing or just talking with somebody or on a walk or sitting by a river or something. And it's almost like a door opens and you just go in and you see yourself in that way. You see yourself vulnerable and in need of care. And then all you got to do is just go in. And that's what I've been working on. And it's been really valuable because it shows me that certainly it shows me the love and care for myself that I'm capable of, and hopefully that we all are. But it also reminds me that just as past versions of myself have me now, in this part of my timeline to be there for them, I also have the me of other parts in my timeline, including the me that is infinitely, you know, in every timeline, and kind of the me that's capital S self, to lean on and to call out for, and to ask for assistance and help. And, you know, you could think of this as just like asking for advice or help from the wisest part of yourself. And if you can learn to allow the wisest part of yourself to come forward, whether it's, you know, just in ideas, like, you know, kind of like when I'm making music, at times a version of me will come through in the music, that in the lyrics, that is so much more profound than I think of myself on a daily basis. And I listen to the song 6 months later or a year later, and I'm just like, holy shit, wow, that's like really helpful to me now, you know, and it transcends any particular time. I think that timelessness to us, we experience ourselves in that kind of timelessness, that kind of infinite love, that kind of God version of ourselves, God, if you will, in different ways in our lives. I think it has to do with when we're most passionate, when we can allow that part of ourselves forward. For me, I think in my music, that's been a big place where it's been, but I'm learning to allow that without needing to do any particular task per se. And I think that's part of this wake up game, is learning how to align with deeper, more fundamental, wiser, more loving parts of ourselves that are more infinite across the timeline of our human lives. I think that can be really valuable. And weirdly enough, I think doing the work that we're asking to have done for us, so me being there for parts of myself that need me, is a way of opening the door to get help from parts of myself that I need. Damn. Yeah, that's it. So, yeah. I think that's it for today. That's kind of all the thoughts that I had spewing out of my mind. Well, I'll tell you what. It's always a good idea to learn something new, even if it's just reading an article, or what I did, which right now I'm looking at this. I got a harmonica because I was walking around in my neighborhood playing Pokemon Go near the basketball courts, and I saw this man who was sitting by the courts, like on a bench, and he was playing a harmonica, and it was just so amazing, like to experience his being, coming through his harmonica playing. So I just really took to that and was inspired by that, and I felt like, I want to try that. So I went out and got a harmonica, and it's been fun to learn. I'm very new to it, but it's been a fun, sort of refreshing experience of learning something new that gives me an opportunity to be creative, but with no pressure. I'm just doing it to do it. Yeah. So what else? Okay, so I'm going to be away the next couple weeks, so there aren't going to be any podcast episodes. However, there are going to be podcast episodes. There aren't going to be any official episodes of WAYSPACE, but there's going to be, basically, I'm going to record on my phone since I'll be traveling. I'm going to record like brief episodes, or maybe they'll be super long. I don't know, but probably pretty brief episodes that will be sort of like my thoughts in place of the podcast, so that I continue doing this, but it's just going to be a little different. But those are going to be exclusive to Patreon. So if you want to hear that stuff, then head over to patreon.com/JackInTheWay and check me out there. The cheapest, most affordable, maybe I should say, level is $4 a month. So, it's like half of a Netflix subscription. It's really, I think it's, I would pay $4 for my content. So yeah, I mean, you get to hear a lot of demos, a lot of unreleased music. You get to see graphics. I always put out the YouTube version of the podcast on there so that you can see all the cool graphics and stuff. And yeah, and you'll just get to hear about, stuff I have coming up. And so it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool over there. And there are other perks to it, other levels, but that $4 level seems to be pretty popular. So that's the one I'll promote in case you find yourself interested. And yeah, so thank you so much for listening. Let's see if I can do a little harmonica pre-outro thing. Okay, I'm I'm trying here. I'm learning. All right. I love you. Thank you so much for listening. I will talk to you in a few weeks, unless I talk to you next week if you're on the Patreon. Thanks again. Here's to remembering who we are. Peace.